Guys, listen, I am extremely excited. I hope you feel electric. I hope you feel electric. I hope that your family is phenomenal. I hope that everything is going right in your life, your fitness, your family, and your finances. Right? This is your Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Sean Ra'is, as always, flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson, as well as Junior Frederick. It is an electric Saturday. How are you guys feeling? Tell me about the energy in the room. That's what I want to hear about the energy. Feed me some energy so I can get some velocity.
Yeah, man. Well, as you always know, the energy is absolutely amazing. This morning, I already did my cardio. So let me just say, I absolutely despise cardio. Okay, I absolutely despise it. But I already did my cardio this morning. So I'm feeling good. Today, what's on my mind is transformation. That's what's on my mind. Growth and transformation. That's what's on my mind. But I feel amazing, Sean. Ready to see what this show brings.
Oh, let's go. You already said, guys, ready to see what the show brings because it's so organic, so unscripted. We don't even know.
Yeah.
Bobby Jackson, how you feeling, brother?
Feeling amazing. Also did my workout this morning as well. And it's good to add a zero. So I normally hit 300, 400 something calories, 500, 600. Like that's normal for me on a Saturday. But today I did like 1,200 something calories. So I just added a zero. Just added a zero to the caloric burn rate. And
adding a zero. Adding a zero. I'll just put in the comments, guys. Winning is trending. Right? Winning is trending if you haven't felt the energy yet. Like winning is trending and you want to get on the plane. Like get on the plane, get on the wagon, get on the work wagon. Welcome the work. Welcome the work because that's what works. Nothing else works. All that, you know, the I say it all the time, guys. Like you're gonna be motivated, hopefully, but we're not. I'm not your motivational speaker, nor am I your inspirational speaker. But I hope that you're inspired when I talk to you about implementation. When I talk to you about what's evidence based. If you get motivated from methodology and metrics and mechanics, then you're going to be successful and extremely motivated. Guys, we got a lot of shout outs in the comments. Let me give a shout out to some people. Lawana Bradford, Shade, Joel Smith. I see you guys, Tia. And I know we're being watched and followed. We're on every single platform. As a matter of fact, we're not on Instagram yet, but it's coming. I've worked with it. I've worked with the technology, but that's not my mainstay. That's not my linchpin. When we come back, though, you're going to hear about what my linchpin actually is. We'll be right back. This is your Breakfast with the Brand, and I'm just so glad that you're here. Let's grow. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence. Add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
All right, guys. So what is the pension? Like, what is the pension? What is the linchpin? What is the secret to my success? The secret to my success is across the bottom of the screen, guys. Speaking. I tell people all the time, I say, I had that seat outside of the principal's office since the second grade for speaking. A lot of times it's what you do that people don't agree with. That's an indication of your aspiration and your future sensation. No holds barred, all limericks aside. The things that you do, like, okay, so watch this. How many people got in trouble for speaking and talking? You talk a lot. You were told that you talked a lot. You were called because they couldn't put a label. They could not put the label phenomenal on it, and they didn't know how to contain it, and they didn't know how to restrict it or control it. So they called you ADHD or ADD or too much and all over the place, or can't concentrate, can't focus. How many of you have been labeled or mislabeled in your youth? If you're a leader, they tell people, don't follow him, like, don't follow her. She's going to lead you. She's going to persuade you. She's going to get you to do things, right? You were a leader in your youth. You were leading people. You were speaking a lot. It was hard to control your energy. That comes with leadership. That comes with influence. What is another word they use? Hyperactive. Hyper, which means uncontrollable, which means you're a leader. You're going to go the other way. They don't follow instructions. They don't follow instructions. They paint outside the lines. They disrupt the class. They disrupt the class because you think bigger. You have a bigger picture. Guys, I just want to give you permission to be phenomenal. Right? I want to help you, give you permission to live in your unlimited abundance and embrace that which intimidates other people.
Sean, while you were speaking, the idea of labels came to mind.
Good.
So very recently, I've been, reading different things. I'm looking at the news. I'm looking at what's happening here, what's happening there, what's happening over here. And I'm seeing a lot of labels. And then something in my mind said, hold on, like, there's a lot of words that we use that didn't exist before. A lot of terms, a lot of, different things that we use. And I think it, just goes to show the power of words. Before you can control anything, you have to name it, right? You have to be able to name something before you could create it or control it. And I think it's very interesting, but also very important to go back and see, like, where do these labels come from? And do the people that label things the way they do they have our best interests at heart? So exactly what you were talking about. So, labeling a kid with ADHD or whatever, like, why not tell them that you have the natural propensity to be a leader? Like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy to put a label on something and then attach a certain connotation to it. But I feel like when we go back and then we sort of, self-assess and look at actually where these labels are coming from, I think the results would be very interesting. And then we start to see, certain strengths or certain weaknesses, right, as strengths, etc., etc. It's like that meme, that old meme where they're trying to judge, let's say, an elephant by how high he can fly. Elephant doesn't fly, right? And they're trying to judge a giraffe by how fast it can swim. Giraffe is not a fish. So I feel like, labels are something that, we have to be very careful with. But, taking it one step further, creating labels for ourselves. So you naming or you capturing your brilliance and labeling it for yourself in a way that is empowering, in a way that is motivating, in a way that pushes you towards your higher self, I think is definitely a key to transformation.
Yeah. think that's interesting as well. As you were speaking, Junior, what came to me is labels are usually an indication of laziness. And I'll go a little bit deeper. A lot of times when something is new and it's introduced, it's hard to label. I remember Jimi Hendrix. That's the first person that came to mind. They didn't know what to call his stuff. The second person to come to mind is John Coltrane. They were like, what is this 3/3 measure type music?
That's right.
They didn't know what to call it. So over time, they kind of just like slap this label on it. And what I think is really interesting is you have the people that create the energy, so to speak. So if I am John Coltrane, I'm creating the music. If I'm Jimi Hendrix, I'm creating the music. If I am Run DMC, I'm creating, and I'm using music because it's a very cultural thing and it's very American. And the African American culture, hip hop, rap, that is a worldwide phenomenon now, but it started in New York. We have blues, and that started right here in the US. We have R&B and soul, but those things weren't called that back then. They were probably called something Negro spiritual or something Negro this or that. And the label that was put on it tried to confine it to a color. And I think that can be often an indication of laziness, a lack of the desire to understand. And I think that's very important when we talk about labels, is a willingness to understand what's new and give it space. And the last thing that I will say before turning it over to Sean is Kobe and Michael Jordan. They didn't know what the Black Mamba was. That wasn't a thing. They just knew Michael Jordan. So they tried to call him the next Michael Jordan. But he had to say, nah, I'm the Black Mamba. I'm different. I'm me. And there's an interesting thing there.
Very good, very good. So phenomenal insights. We have a phenomenal insight from Lawana as well. She says that societal labels are by design. Societal labels are by design, a systemic weakness designed to control the masses. So since I kicked this topic off, I'm going to kind of segue into the break. But what I want you to think about are the labels. I want you to think about the labels, because they call it this because they can't quantify it, or like Bobby said, understand it. Now, they may have the desire to understand it, but they can't comprehend it. They can't comprehend the genius. Many times they have the desire, and that's why they slap a label on it, because they're trying to quantify it, trying to contain it, trying to identify it and define it. But it's not, they don't have the comprehension. They don't have the insights or the intelligence level to really wrap their head around what they're seeing or hearing. I want you to think about this, because there's two things I'm going to give you as an example of innovation and new. Number one, flight. The Wright brothers were defined as insane. Number two, the world was considered flat, and anyone who disagreed, preconceived notions, limited insight, limited comprehension. You might have something new, guys. You're not wrong. You might just be ahead of the curve. You might have something new. When I started talking about branding, people was wondering what it was. When I said leadership, they said, doesn't look that way. I understand it like this, not like that. That's why we had to change the face of it. So I want you to think what you have, if people don't comprehend it or understand it, it may just be new. You may just be ahead of your time. That's okay. Give them time to catch up. Don't leave it alone. Because what the Wright brothers found out was that they actually could fly. And we enjoy those benefits today. And what we've also learned is that the world is not flat. The world is round. So the people who said that were not crazy by a long shot. We'll be right back. The difference between sales and closing, I get this all of the time, guys. Closing is elegant. Closing is luxurious. Closing is the most profitable. Sales, high pressure tactics. No one associates car sales, right? The sleazy sales tactics with closing, because closing is elegant. Closing is excellent. You have to be a professional in order to close deals. Listen, when you do this the right way, when you learn what we're going to teach you in here, your clients will be trying to close you, and they won't let you close them for low numbers. So you'll be able to heighten, increase your profitability, increase your visibility, increase your reach, and increase your impact in the marketplace, and be confident and comfortable charging higher prices than you ever thought possible to the right people who can actually pay for them and then say thank you for closing them. In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand. So this is why I say brand you, guys, not what you do. Brand you, because you might just be bringing something new to the marketplace.
Yes, sir. And while you just said that, I was just thinking about, society and the way that it's going, and I'm thinking about different norms, etc., etc. And I'll take the example of, let's say, AI. So AI as an example. There are many of us right now. Whatever you do right now is going to be replaced by AI. So AI will be able to do many of the things that we do right now. In fact, just this morning, Sean, I saw an article on, I think it was Instagram, where the title basically said, basically, if you cannot, and I'm just paraphrasing, right? But basically, if you cannot hire Tony Robbins as your coach, have no fear. ChatGPT is here. You can, you can put a prompt into ChatGPT and have it coach you in the style of Tony Robbins. Literally, it takes like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that to set up. So guys, like if you're a coach, whatever you do, just really think to yourself. Like I'm thinking for today, so we're talking about today, what can you do today, but also think about the future. And what I'm noticing, Sean, and I was having this conversation with somebody else, the things that we actually do, the services that we provide as business owners, they might come a point where the actual technical part of those services are done by AI, and it's not that much expensive, right, to get done. So can you imagine having ChatGPT coach you like Tony Robbins? Obviously, it's not Tony Robbins, but for some people it might be good enough. They might say, well, I don't have $1 million. I can get this for $29.99 a month, and I'm okay with that. So when Sean says brand you and not what you do, this is a very futuristic message if you really stop to think about it.
There you go.
Because what you do just might be replaced, but who you are can never be replaced.
Ooh.
Who you are can never be replaced.
Let's
Okay?
go. Let's go.
Unless something else crazy happens, Sean, that we don't know yet. But who you are right now cannot be replaced. Your essence cannot be replaced. So branding you and not what you do, even if it sounds poetic, even if it sounds philosophical, it is strategic, and it is very well based in solid logical foundation, because really and truly what we do some of it will be replaced. And I keep saying that creativity is the new currency in this new economy. What will separate me from somebody else will be my ability to think creatively. Because one person might be given ChatGPT, I might have ChatGPT. We're tasked with the same thing, but the result is completely different based on our ability to think. So we're seeing a shift in the style of economy where it's less about what you do and more about who you are and what you can create.
Very profound conversation that we're having this morning. You know, as we think about winning is trending and we think about AI and all of these different things, it makes me think about kind of like what matters, your why, and turning your whys into whose, things, all the things that we say here. One of the things that came to mind is what I've been called in the past. So as I'm thinking about labels and I'm thinking about AI, I think about all the things that I've been called that aren't in alignment with how I see myself have often been because of how people see themselves. And I want to share this with you guys just so you can think about brand you and not what you do a little bit deeper, as that's how we open this up. So if I am called selfish, which I have been called many times, maybe you have too, if you're a business owner and entrepreneur, I'm sure you have, right? And if you've been called that, it's probably because the person who called you that would call themselves that if they were doing what you're doing. So when you brand you and not what you do, you can detach yourself from what you're doing, because most people label your actions and not your character. And when you understand your character and you understand why you're doing it and whom you're doing it for, you can detach yourself from the emotional attachments that go into activity, and you can ground yourself in the essence and truth of your own identity as you understand it. And that, I think, is extremely profound when we talk about AI, which does not have an identity, which does not have an essence, which does not have a soul. And when we talk about creativity and energy and power, I agree 100% with Junior in the way things are going and what the new currency is, and how those that can understand their intrinsic power and know how to communicate that through speaking, through coaching, through leadership, will have a transcendental advantage over those that are reliant on artificial intelligence to try and make a dollar.
This is a very interesting conversation. Extremely interesting conversation. The reason I say that is because in my very first book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success, I devoted probably 10 pages to that which was going out, to industries that used to exist, that were removed. And they were not removed by AI, they were removed and replaced. The people, the individuals that used to perform these utility functions were removed and replaced by IT. Now we're seeing the further removal and replacement of utilities by AI. Not only utilities, but some cognitive functionings, some cognitive utilities like thinking is being replaced, except at an extremely executive level. That's the word that comes to my mind, executive. Because what qualifies a response? What qualifies a response? And what quantifies and qualifies a response is the reception and the implementation capability, the capability of implementation. So when we say brand you and not what you do, and we say collapse decades into days and make your annual income monthly, your monthly income weekly, and your weekly income daily, many people can say these things, but what gives it power? What gives it power is the speed at which it can be implemented and the effect to which it can be implemented. So when I opened up and I put the first banner across the screen, it was this. It was speaking. It was speaking. Words on the screen don't have emphasis. The only way you can get emphasis from words on the screen is by bolding it. You notice how I just said bolding it? That gives it emphasis. But the actual context of the content and the reception of it, the way you feel it, the way it resonates, the way it hits, is different for each listener. And this is why you have to tailor your approach, tailor your dialect, tailor your words, your cadence, and your rhythm to each audience that's listening to you. You have to know the audience. Hear me real clearly. You have to know the audience. And predictive intelligence has not yet been able to know who the inputs are coming from. So when you put something in, if you use the same words, if we use the same words, we're going to get the same outcome. You understand that? If me and Junior are sitting on AI and he puts in the exact same words, unless it has predicted and anticipated who he is, as opposed to who I am, because we've used it differently, the words will be exactly the same. So for a short amount of time, because I promise you it's being worked on, because when Bobby said that AI doesn't have a soul, my thought was, did the phone or the AI in the phone feel some kind of way when he said that? Because it's intuitive, it's interpretive. It's also all hearing and all seeing. And if you think it's not, then type something in, leave it alone, come back to your phone, and you're going to be fed what you looked for prior to. You know what I'm talking about because you say, okay, well, I looked for this, or somebody said this. Say something in the car around your phone and watch what happens and see how it just starts being given to you. That's AI. That's regenerative. It's predictive, actually, of what you're looking for next. Think about what you think about. Think about how you articulate what you think about. Think about what Junior said about the future. Think about the future, and I would behoove you to go back and get the 7 prerequisites to success, because inside of the 7 prerequisites to success, I list no less than 10 industries that were replaced. People whose livelihoods, children whose college tuitions were removed because the parents were not able to adapt fast enough or respond accurately. They reacted. When you brand you're not being reactive, you're being responsible, because you're branding and you're placing focus on the one thing that is unlimited and has yet to be outsourced. But like Junior said, copy, not really needed unless you have an extremely high executive function. And I'll give you one example before we go to this break. Yesterday, just yesterday evening, I was on a sync meeting with a phenomenal gentleman. I won't mention him, nor the function that he plays within this organization. However, I was on an executive meeting with a phenomenal individual within my organization. And he said, listen to this for a moment, Sean. And he closed his mouth. And it was a recording of him speaking. And I'm listening to the recording. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. That's real good. I'm glad that you're coming out of your shell and actually speaking more. I can see you on the stage speaking, because what you just told me sounds really good. And it wasn't him speaking. It was AI. He had fed his voice into the AI. So the AI retained his voice, and then he just fed it a script, and it spoke it just like he speaks. The times that are approaching are extremely interesting.
From Harriet Tubman to Sojourner Truth to Rosa Parks, we have always been on a freedom run. Your LLC, your S Corp, C Corp, your business entity is what's going to give you the ability to go from your job, your industry wages, your 9 to 5 to the life of your dreams and the dream of your life. This is about you attaining all of the things that you could only possibly imagine and that our ancestors saw as not even being possible. Your freedom run, this is your freedom run. This is your moment. We're going to show you how to establish yourself as a business entity so you can go and come as you choose. There was a time when we needed permission slips to go from plantation to plantation. When you get a little bit older, you need permission slips to go from class to class. And when you get a little bit older, you get a vacation for 2 weeks, and then you have to come back after 2 weeks to your job, right? That's what they call it now, the 9 to 5, the gig. You might you work for 50 weeks and you get 2 off. The freedom run is when you establish your LLC and you're free for the rest of your life. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes.
Interesting conversation.
Yes, it is. Let me just share with everybody, since we're on the topic. I ran an experiment, Sean. I ran an experiment. I was using ChatGPT, and I was having a conversation with it. Okay, or what felt like a conversation, and I was asking, the same kind of question that we're asking him. I'm like, oh, hey, moving forward in the future, where do we sit? Like, how can a human being be relevant if AI is going to do most of the most of the manual tasks? Because I was listening to a conversation where eventually we can make it to what's called a golden age or golden era. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's been said that we've experienced like 4 golden ages. Basically, everything is free. You don't have to work. So Sean, you think it and you can get it. And we see things like that happening with software like Midjourney, where you think, you type it in, and it just produces AI art. It can design a vehicle. It can, draw you something that looks like it was drawn by Van Gogh or another famous artist. So this is like the early stages. So let's say 50 years, 100 years from now, Sean can think about a Ferrari, something can design the Ferrari, and then something just prints it. Like,
It is delivered.
just like, and it's done. Here you go. Here's your Ferrari. So I'm asking the AI, like, okay, so how does one stay relevant? How does a professional stay relevant if we're having most jobs replaced by it? So I'm having the conversation with it. I'm asking it question. And what it told me was very interesting. It used the term human-centered design thinking.
Please write that down, guys. Please write this down. That's why I say share this out, because you never know what's going to happen, like which way the conversation is going to go. So share this out and write this down. Go ahead, Junior.
It used the term human-centered design thinking. And human-centered design thinking is based around the idea of context. So there's a school of thought that says that the best person to coach you is you. Best person to coach you is you. Why? So number one, if you're looking for the perfect coach, okay, you're looking for somebody who, number one, knows who you are, number two, knows what you're going through and where you are, like what situation you're in, and number three, knows what you actually want. And who knows that better than yourself? What separates another coach from, well, let's just say a normal coach from a phenomenal coach, is the ability to gain context around an individual situation through empathy. So in other words, if you care more about your client, then you tend to be a better coach, right? And that's pretty easy to understand. So with human-centered design thinking, what it is leveraging artificial intelligence to produce results, but also being able to cater those results to the specific context of your client. So if I'm designing something within the realm of marketing, let's say for Lawana, I can have AI do the work, but AI cannot get the context of who Lawana is, what she's going through, what does she actually want, what is her personality, what are her unique traits. Like, AI doesn't know. I know, and I have the intelligence to empathize with her and understand on several levels what she actually wants. So whatever you're doing right now, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in, coaching, consulting, sales, whatever it is, empathy. And I could go back to a breakfast with the brand that we did like almost a year ago, where we said that soft skills, are the way of the future. So human-centered design thinking, especially when it comes to strategy. Okay, so principles govern strategy, strategy governs tactics. So principles govern strategy, strategy governs tactics. Now, so the tactics, Sean, is the technical stuff. So building the car, designing the funnel, writing the copy. I can figure out so many things. Anything mechanical, anything
That's right. Task.
Think. Yeah, any task that you don't need to think to do. It's like, hey, I give you the script, just do the script. Like, don't try to, just like utility. So that these are tactics. So where we come in as human beings, at least right now, is, hey, get the context around whatever it is that you're doing, and you provide the strategy. So that goes back to what I was saying, your ability to think creatively. You provide the strategy, and then you allow the AI to execute on the technical work. Now, Sean, when you look at jobs that were replaced, a lot of them that were replaced were like, technical stuff. Like if you're, let's say you're putting together a burger. So we see like McDonald's having AI. So really things where you just put stuff together. It could be in the farming area where maybe you're planting crops. Now, so it's like the laborer stuff.
That's right. Labor intensive effort. Yes, sir.
A lot of the laborer stuff, and not everything, it's more action than thinking. So I saw a video where this machine was going through a field, and it was planting crops, but the way it did it just like, I don't know, it just pushed it in the ground. So somebody would normally have to take a spade and they would have to dig a hole and all that. The thing just put the tree in the ground and move on. I do another one, do another one, do another one. So things like that, where you just have to perform some kind of mechanical task, that will definitely be replaced. but your ability to think strategically with the right context of the person that you're serving, that has not been able to be replaced right now. So that's where I would say, like, that's where we fit currently. Now, here's what I'm thinking. So here's my train of thought, not to be too long-winded, but so when I got the answer back, I'm saying, okay, so where do I really place my attention? Am I wasting my time doing, mechanical task? Where do I place my attention? What do I place value on? What for me would be an asset? An asset is something that grows in value over time. So I'm thinking,
pay attention to the definition of the word, guys. The right
it
word
grows in
means
value over time. So for me, it may not be for everybody else. I'm just talking about my experience. For me, I feel like investing in the ability to think creatively and strategically is a better asset for me than learning how to do mechanical things. That's what I see. So that's just my 2 cents on the subject.
very good.
This is great. I love it because it makes a version of me come out that doesn't often come out, which is great. I really enjoy this. So I'm going to turn the conversation on its head a little bit as we talk and think about AI. For me personally, as I listen to this, the 3 words that come to mind are meaningfulness, greatness, and responsibility. So those are the first words that come to mind. And this is because AI is going to be a tool. I'll put it to you like this. I'll speak for myself. AI will be my tool. It won't use me. It won't replace me. It can't be me. It will be used by me, period. Because I understand meaningfulness. Greatness is within me. It calls me, and I take responsibility for my life and for the lives of those that love me and that I love. Number 2, pain tolerance. AI does not feel. I feel, I hurt, I embrace. I have a AQ, an adversity quotient. And because I am human, I can feel pain. I can hurt. I can long. I can desire. I have empathy. So you can try to train this stuff, but AI doesn't know what it feels like to be raised without a father. You can build in the data, but AI doesn't know what it feels like for your mom to work 2, 3, 4 jobs and try to raise you. You can build in all of the coding you want, but AI will never know what it feels like to raise another man's son when your grandparents and great-grandparents didn't even know their own father's names. So I don't care what you do, how you code it, what you put into it. It will never know what it feels like to be Bobby Tyrone Jackson Jr. and to walk this land, to protect this country, to bleed, die, and feel what it feels like to be human. And because of that, I say these 3 things. Happenings is what makes us human. The fact that something can just happen, it makes it just happen. Like life, what do they say? Life be life. What is your adversity quotient? What is your pain tolerance? Because that's what's going to make you human. That's what makes us think. They say that necessity is the mother of creation.
Yes,
a computer doesn't need anything. AI doesn't need, it can't need. It's a tool. So here's the thing. It's just like your body. Like whatever you don't master, masters you. So AI, like if you don't master your body will tell you you're hungry. And you'll eat. Your body will tell you you're tired and you'll lay down and go to sleep. But you can master your body and you say, tired, I don't know tired. I don't register tired. You can say, eat, I don't eat until this time and I stop eating after this time. So get lost. And when you master yourself, you can do the same thing with AI. You can master it. Oh, you're smart, you thought. I am the controller and captain of this ship, this destiny. And before there was AI, before there were shovels, we used to use our hands and rocks. Like we, human beings, are the ones that were given the gift to dominate and take dominion over the earth. So I don't care what they build, what they create, how intelligent they make it, until it's a human being with the life force that I personally believe of the living God inside of you, you cannot compete. You cannot compete with me. And that's just the way I feel about it. But that's my personal perspective. And I'll leave you guys with this. Risk rewards relentlessness. The AI doesn't risk. Like it can't die, but I can. I risk my life every day. That's another level. Chance creates choice. AI cannot choose because it never takes a chance. Everything I do is a chance. Every time I go to the bank is a chance. Every time the bank says, hey, if you don't pay this on time, I'm taking a risk. And risks are rewarded by relentlessness. Every day I could die. Every day someone could call me and say, hey, Bobby, you got cancer. That could never happen to AI. And because it can't happen to AI, AI will never register my AQ, my adversity quotient. It will never know what my pain tolerance threshold is, and it cannot compete, will not compete, and I dare it to try. And that's just how I feel about it.
Whew, I love it. This is becoming emotional, hasn't it? This is pretty combative, pretty interesting, very, very interesting. A lively conversation. I love it. I love organic. And I want you to think about the difference between organic and artificial. Organic means living, breathing, origin. Artificial follows that. It is reactive. It is responsive. It is reflective. Creative is something different. Arriving at the origin of something, the conceptual, is something different. To intuit is one thing, to interpret is another. To intuit is one thing, to interpret is another. To be instructive and to follow instructions are two different things. The programmer and the programmed are two different things. An employee is replaceable. An entrepreneur cannot be, by the very nature of it. An employee is someone who they follow instructions. That's what an employee does. They do basically what they're told and what they're instructed to do. An entrepreneur is organically creative, and they take responsibility to lead, right? So Junior has organic thought that is creative. I let Junior know what we need to do. He can interpret that anyway. He can intuit that. He knows what needs to be done. I don't need to have a meeting with him for him to know what needs to be done. Nor do I need to instruct him, because he'll probably do it better than I would anyway. So I leave him alone and we get the result. That's what I want to see, is the result. Very well understood. We don't have to have a conversation about it. That's intuitive. That's organic. That's leadership. That's what Bobby's talking about. Cannot be duplicated. That communication without communicating, that's mental. That's mental, and it's spiritual. It is of essence. And essence, that what I'm talking about when I say essence, that's entrepreneurial. And what Bobby was talking about was the entrepreneurial spirit. You hear it, you know it when you see it, and you feel it, and you see the results of it. AI is the result of an entrepreneurial spirit, just like the locomotive buildings and just like skyscrapers. Now, this is where the lack is potential. There's a potential for lack, and there is a potential for replacement. And the potential for replacement is when you're not continuously learning and developing and intuiting and innovating yourself. When you're not disrupting yourself and recreating yourself, then you're leaving yourself open. You're leaving your flanks open for someone to innovate on you and disrupt you. And that's what happened to those industries that I talked about inside of the 7 prerequisites to success. And that's what's happening to the people who have allowed themselves to become disrupted. They become lazy and unproductive and comfortable and complacent in their position. And as soon as that happens, they're ripe for the picking. So you have to do a serious introspection and look at your skills and say, are they functional or are they futuristic? Are they logistic or are they logical? Are they conceptual or contextual? Because if they're conceptual, then that's of origin. If they're contextual, that means it's pertaining to. And what we were talking about first, when you get labeled, it's because you're easily defined or easily boxed in. When you're doing something new, it's hard to define. AI puts label on things. This is why I say brand you and not what you do, because you are unquantifiable. Your value is uncounterable, uncontainable, and unquantifiable if you're living in an at a zero exponential zone. But if you're not, AI could be very dangerous. This is the Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow.